Often on this program we talk about the cover of COVID. It's like my version of your climate change thing, where the cover of COVID is that whoever wants to, like as we saw with the Democrats in America, right? If we change the voting system, this helps us because we don't have to get people to the polls. We bring the polls to you, okay? You've seen all sorts of things. Literally, those who wanted to get rid of the cars out of central Melbourne so we can have the alfresco summer under the cover of COVID, all right? The different little changes to the way that governments work. And surprise, surprise, another one of these under the cover of COVID is that we must commit to more immigration. Rowan, we must have not just more immigration, we've got to go World War II style, we've got to supercharge the joint. And of course, all of that then puts all of the strain on the infrastructure, which of course, currently there's a fight about whether you can have a bigger dam in Sydney. I don't know, but millions of people, doesn't matter what they'll drink, doesn't matter what power system they'll use. Yet again, the left, the cover of COVID. Here we go again, the latest Trojan horse, but apparently the Trojan horse is wearing a mask. Big population.
Yes, a slightly strange logic here that we close our borders to keep the virus out, but we throw open our borders because COVID has so ruined our economy that we have to bring everybody in from all over the world. And, will they spend 2 weeks in quarantine, I wonder, before they get here? Or maybe not. But this is just, a cynic would say that hasn't the left done well out of the coronavirus? I mean, in so many ways. We know that they want to turn the COVID task force and lockdowns and closing businesses. They've told us they want to use that now on climate change. So that's the next thing. Use COVID to terrify the population and then bring in a whole bunch of climate change measures to say that's the latest emergency. Then it's more immigration, as you're saying here. Every left-wing cause, they are using the terror of COVID and they are trying to shovel through other stuff, and the public have got to wake up to this because only the public can say, no, you guys have gone too far. We're not buying this.
Before we get to Tim Smith to talk about contract tracing in Victoria, one more one here. Dominic Perrottet will release the New South Wales budget tomorrow, and part of that is going to be a $10 million announcement of up to $5,000 worth of extra welfare that will go to women that have been out of work for longer than 6 months because, well, I'll let him explain.
Today we announced a new measure to help women reskill and get back into the workforce, a new grant program to provide support for women for reskilling, for retraining. We've extended early childhood education to help young families, and that's really important.
Richo, are they fixing a problem or just trying to get out in front of a Twitter hashtag that seemed to be annoyed that the federal budget wasn't female enough?
Oh, no, you'd hardly call Perrottet the most woke politician in town, he's just not that type. He's a very, very bright guy, but he's not very woke. And so I would have thought this would have been a carefully thought out policy. Like all of his, he thinks things through. He's not a mug, and I don't think he should be treated as one. This guy's got the goods.
Corey, why do you shake your head?
I'm shaking my head because Perrottet's not a mug, but he's been sent out there to announce this policy, probably because the people who cooked it up, which are the woke lefties within the Liberal Party, are too ashamed to even put it forward. It is ridiculous. It's flat out ridiculous. It's sexist or genderist or whatever you want to call it. It is just daft, and I thought it's beneath any Liberal government, but I was wrong.
What do you think, Jacinta, rather? What do you think about these things?
Well, it could be a good idea. I think if it wasn't just centred simply on women, I think there's men in those positions too that could do with that little bit of extra help, some upskilling perhaps, or some looking for some skills in another area to help them in terms of employment. I don't know that it necessarily had to be particularly about women. But, once again, I guess I'm more about equality in what it actually means and offering those opportunities to everybody.
But it doesn't work as symbolism, Jacinta. This is where we fail every time. As I said, we've got to change names of lollies and we've got to take our shoes off. That's what solves problems. As opposed to everyone who's been out of work for 6 months gets this, regardless of whether it's gender, sex, race or anything else. All right.